Hey everyone, so super excited to have my daily driver back up and running again. However, as you can see, it has become super cold now, averaging about 1 to 2 degrees out here, which has led me to very quickly discover that my heating in the MG does not work. So this is the heater control valve here, and supposedly there's meant to be a sort of a plunger inside of there and a metal bracket on either side that sort of moves to open the valve and close it. There's also supposed to be a little cable that goes in, so from here and goes into the firewall, through there and into the car. So yeah, very quickly discovered it, obviously, because I had this car running over the summer. This is the first time I'm having it running over winter, so yeah, didn't know that the heat didn't work. But yeah, we're gonna get that switched out, so it shouldn't be too crazy of a job really. It's just taking these two, there's a bolt at the top, bolt at the bottom. Take that out, replace the valve, and then we have to run the cable through the car. So obviously that's the part that's going to be more tricky, is trying to get that fed through and then connect it on the other side. So the valve itself looks like this. So this is a brand new one. So obviously that's what it's supposed to look like. So it's supposed to have the bracket on there to hold the cable, and then obviously that's for the nipple in there, the trunnion, that will push the valve open and close. And then the kit I bought here on eBay came with the kit, so it came with the cable and the valve itself. It does come with a washer as well, but obviously because it's a little bit wet, I didn't want to put it on there. And then I had to buy the trunnion nipples here. So these you can buy these are just for a motorbike. So I just bought one that just fit, and it seems to work well. Now with the cable, if you don't buy the kit and you buy the cable separately, it needs to be a solid cable. It can't be a braided cable like you'd use for like the throttle or the choke, for example. It needs to be a solid cable like this that you need to use to push and pull, because obviously it needs to keep pressure on this. When it's open, it needs to put pressure on it and keep it there. If you use a braided one, it's going to bend it, and it's just not going to be able to retain the right pressure. So yeah, just a little bit of word of advice on that. Okay, so in the car, this is the one that controls the flap, so whether it points to your interior or your defrost at the top. So that one seems to be connected. I have tested that with the blower on, and I can feel that it's switching the airflow from one to the other. However, this is the one that doesn't seem to work. So obviously when you turn that, nothing happens. Now on the other side of the dashboard, just get in there, apologies, bear with me. So that bracket there, that is what you're looking at for the just getting there better for you. So the top one there is what you're looking at, and that is what happens. So when you turn the valve, obviously that should be moving, it should pull the cable, same thing, bring it back and push it. Obviously in our instance we have absolutely nothing happening here, so that should be it, completely closed there. And it looks like I'm also missing at the top here the clamp to hold the cable down, so I'm gonna have to see if I can improvise anything for that. Annoyingly, if not, I'll have to try and source a clamp for it. But fingers crossed I can do something about that to try and hold it in place, because what will happen is it'll push on the other side, and it will just push on this side. It will just move. So yeah, I'm gonna have to try and fabricate something to make that clamp down. But yeah, fun and games. Let's try, nothing like a good challenge, right? So yeah, let's see what we can do to get that working. But yeah, we're gonna have to thread the cable through and then connect it up. Okay, so on the firewall here, this would have been, I think, the one originally for that cable. I've ended up putting grommets in here, but I've used this for the horn, where I fabricated the cables through for that horn. So what I might do here is I might either bring it through with the choke cable, or I might just make this a little bit wider and put it through one of these two. So whichever one seems to work a little bit better, I'm going to do, and then bring it through, and then that should hopefully yeah, be the right run for it. If not, we could go through the big one here, but I'd rather sort of keep it where it roughly was before. So I'm going to see if I can reuse that somehow, and then yeah, we'll go from there. Okay, so for this part you're going to need a flathead and a 11mm spanner there, because what you're going to do is you're going to use the 11mm to undo this bolt on there, and you're going to need to undo that cable pipe as well. So you're going to need to loosen the jubilee on there. with the flathead. So what I've done is I've just taken out the HT leads for cylinder 4 and 3 out of the way, just so it clears some space for us to work. We may have to take the dipstick out as well, but I might be able to go around it potentially. Let's just see how we go. So you are going to lose a bit of coolant on this. Obviously, whatever's in the head. Now I've opened the radiator cap as well. So it's just brought the pressure out again, pulled some of the coolant back into the radiator. But yeah, you're going to lose a little bit. So I have put a pan at the bottom. I've put a pan underneath the engine just to catch anything that drips out below. But yeah, you're gonna lose a little bit, so you're gonna have to refill it again later on. So what I did there was I used the pipe to try and keep the stream of coolant coming out away from the starter motor and the distributor, so it sort of directed the flow straight down onto the actual bucket itself. So that way we try not to reduce as much as we can from falling onto the starter motor. But I recommend just drying that off before we start the car again. Just dry off the starter motor again, just in case anything has dripped onto it. But as you can see, the flow is now stopped in there, so we can proceed to take out the actual valve. Okay, so dipstick has to come out. It's very difficult to get in there with that in the way, so let's pull it out. now that it's all back together again, I'm going to fill it up with coolant and just see if there's any leaks. So best thing to do, check for leaks before we continue. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to put the vacuum back in again just in case anything drips into the distributor, which we do not want. So I'm just going to put that back in again. Okay, so far so good. Doesn't look like there's anything leaking in there, which is a good sign. Good start, because the bottom one, as you can see, was very difficult to kind of get that to work as well. But yeah, hopefully that's good to go. Obviously, what I would recommend doing is once you've started the car, everything's running, the engine's running, is warm, double check it, because it probably, when it gets warm and everything expands, you might have to do a little bit of an adjustment there to get that tight again. But yeah, valve's in now, so now it's a matter of running the cable. So yeah, let's get cracking on that. Okay, so what I've done now is I've just laid the cable in here. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to check for length, just to ensure that it is the right amount of cable to reach the controls and to reach the valve as well. Because the last thing you want to do is start threading this through, connecting everything up, and then it isn't the right size on there. So yeah, best to just check before you get stuck in. Okay, so that's the cable run through. So through the firewall there, exactly through the same grommet that I used the horn cables for, straight through, out the other side, and then obviously now into here. And it seems to be that there's enough slack on that to work correctly. So what you want to do now is you want to ensure that the valve on the inside is fully closed. So the button needs to be, sorry, the knob button, whatever you want to call it, is fully on the closed position. And then you want to connect everything up on this side. So yeah, I'm just going to go check the button is fully closed, and then we can start with this. Okay, that should be the knob in the off position on there. Obviously it isn't connected on the other side, but just best to do that before you connect everything up, because what it means is when that's pulled on that side, this needs to be up for fully closed. So let me just move you on the camera. So when you're looking at it, this is open. So when it's there, it's open. When it sort of springs back a little bit, that means it's fully open, because that pushes and holds it open. And in closed, it stays like that. So that's in the closed position. So when you tighten all this down, you want to ensure that you do it when it's in its closed position, because in that way, you're going to do the same on that side, just to make sure everything's tight. Then when you turn it the right way, it pushes it down. So you don't want it being the opposite way around. Okay, so you want to open it so the steel cable can go through that hole in there, and then insert that in. Thread the steel cable through, and then you want to tighten that down. A smaller flathead, bear with me. Okay, so you bring that to there. Okay, that's nice and tight in there. It's nice and snug. You just want to make sure that that's holding well. And then bring the jacket or sleeve, whatever you want to call it, up slightly, just so there's a bit of a gap between the two. And then you want to tighten that down on there. Okay, so that's snug in there. And if I do that, as you can see, it's pulling the cable, but it's not coming out of the loop on there, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to push pull on the other side so you guys can see this. On your side, you can see that moving there. Okay, so I've decided to take the bracket actually out because it's quite difficult to get my hands through in there. I haven't got the smallest hands in the world, so it's quite difficult to sort of maneuver anything in the back there. So what I've done is I've just taken the sort of knob off. All you got to do is insert something really small in there and sort of lift it upwards. So if I show you with this, it's sort of inserting it into there and then just lifting upwards and then just pull out at the same time, and then that should then remove the knob. So what you want to do is you really want to hit that little thing there, move it upwards, and then the knob should slide off. Then you just want to use the socket, and then a deep socket, to be honest, because it's quite long as you can see, and then you just remove that and it should come back out. So I'm going to take it out and then I'm going to connect everything up. As you can see, the cable's here, and then put everything back in again when I've got it here, because I need to also, as we saw, it's missing the clamp, so I need to make something for the clamp. It's easier for me to just take the whole thing out. So maybe with yours you might be able to get your hands in there and you might be able to work it, but obviously with mine, and I need to make the clamp, it's easier just for me to remove it from there. Okay, so that's it removed from there. So again, just that little screw nut, sorry, there, and then a little washer. Just make sure you take that back off again, don't let that fall down. And then again, you've got your clamp here. So obviously there should be that clamp, the same way we saw on the other side. There should be something there that will hold the cable down, so that should fix in like that. Obviously I'm missing that. So yeah, I'm gonna have to sort of try and make something for this, and then yeah, feed it back up again and put it back in. Okay, so we seem to be in business. My weird addiction for not throwing things away just in case you need them. I had one of these body clips here that seems to hold it quite well. Obviously, forgive the long screw, but there's anything I can get that actually sits in there quite tightly. But there's more than enough space in the dashboard for that to fit, so it shouldn't hinder or poke anything that it shouldn't. Yeah, it's just a little bit obscene because it's too long, but it's the best I have to sort of make it work. But if I can show you in here, really hard one-handed, but bear with me. Let me see if I can set this up. Okay, I'll show you on there. As you can see, it's turning, and the black sleeve is not moving, and that's all you want. You just want it not to be able to move, but that's in there secure enough that it's not moving to cause any problems on there. So yeah, we're in business. So now I can put this back on again, put it back on, tighten everything up, and I think we should be good to go. We just tested it one more time, just make sure that the valve's opening under the bonnet, and yeah, we're good to go. So let me just put that back in again and we'll continue from there. So after changing the valve and the cable inside of the car, there still was no heat coming into the cabin. It was still blowing really, really cold. I left the car for some time to warm up, you know, tried to top up the coolant, for example, in the radiator, but nothing seemed to help. So I thought, okay, maybe there's potentially an airlock in the system. So what I did was I filled, as I said, I filled the radiator, took the car around a corner where there's a sort of a bridge. There's a very quiet road, it's a closed road, so I can leave the car with the radiator end up in the air like that. Got the car to temperature, obviously cap off, got the car to temperature, then turned the car off, let it cool, again still with the radiator cap off, to try and force the bubbles out. But obviously it being on an incline, it should force the coolant through the system, but that didn't seem to work either. So it sort of led me to think, okay, maybe there's something more. Maybe the heater box sort of radiator, if you will, is a little bit blocked on the inside. So the one way to check this out is if you feel when the car's at temperature, this cable will be really warm because the valve is obviously then open, it's changed. Obviously if yours is not even warm here or hot, then that means there's a problem here. But obviously if you change the valve like I have, this pipe is really hot and this one is warm, and say warm because it's a engine bay temperature wise it's warm, then you know there's a problem between here, right? So what I did was just, you know, gently but firmly just use a rubber mallet on the pipe here, couple of taps up here, couple of taps around the box itself as well, and then what I did was I kept massaging the cable, so just keep squeezing, and then you'll see eventually what you'll see with the radiator cap off, you'll see the coolant sort of swirling around in there, and that shows that obviously now there's a flow coming in there. And so as I did that, obviously I did try to open the heater box, sorry, to see if I could get to the matrix on the inside, but mine was really stiff, and it's a little bit rusty around the bottom, so I didn't want to force it to do anything that it didn't want to do at this moment in time, because obviously I wasn't even sure if that was the problem. So I just said, okay, let me just give it a crack. So yeah, just a couple of taps. Obviously don't hit it too hard because you'll damage the cable, the pipe ends, and then that's a bigger problem for you. But yeah, all I did was I kept doing that, kept giving it quite taps, keep massaging this through. The fan was on, and then eventually this started to warm up. The cable pipe here at the top started to warm up, and then as I squeezed it, I could see the flow of coolant in there. So just give it a, you know, be very careful about this as well, because obviously you are working with a hot engine, so this pipe will get very, very hot, and then this one will gradually get hotter as well the more coolant starts flowing through the core on the inside there. So yeah, just be very careful. But obviously now we're in business. I have heating in the inside of the car. But one word of advice, obviously, if you're going to use the mallet technique to fix this issue, you will note that on the inside of the car, it will blow a lot of like dust and debris, whatever sort of falls off in the box as well, will blow into the car. So you probably might need to just give it a little bit of a clean. So I had to clean the top of the dashboard where the defrost was on, and it sort of blew stuff into the cabin. But yeah, in the grand scheme of things, not a big issue for the fact that I now have a defrost function and heating for the winter weather. Perfect.